My name is Chris Porteous, and today I'm going to be covering the ultimate guide to scaling up content creation. So in this guide, we're going to be kind of covering the following, starting with keyword research, building up that content calendar, then creating that guideline, focusing a little bit on the kind of the quality process of it, supplementing that with content curation, embracing content repurposing, developing a schedule for content promotion, and then hiring writers, building a team, using tools, and then measuring performance. So kind of to get started, why scale content creation? In today's competitive content marketing landscape, scaling content is a key success. A regular content publishing schedule combined with the right quality checks makes it easy to build devoted content followers. According to the Content Marketing Institute, 64% of content marketers said their greatest educational need is understanding how to create a scalable content strategy. We'll be kind of covering the basic process here and what goes into it. But to start, you kind of have your keyword research, building your content calendar, creating your guidelines and quality parameters, then going from there, outlining the content, hiring writers, and then moving on to implementing that. So creating the content, curating it, repurposing it, and then ultimately promoting it. Lastly, there was that audit phase, every 6 months to kind of tweak, improve, and constantly kind of grow that content. Chapter 1. So you want to start with keyword research. Before building a 6-month plan, start with the foundation. A few examples here being, find me cheap hotels in San Jose or best lunch places in San Jose. So the biggest thing we've noticed, especially with recent Google algorithm changes, is making sure that you're building content and focusing those keywords and content around what the search intent is. So for example, like find me cheap hotels in San Jose. Is it listicles of, top 10 cheap hotels in San Jose? Is it category page on Expedia? Is it a guide to shopping or finding a hotel? Really making sure that you're building content that's designed for the intent that, search engines are showing you. And kind of looking at it, I'm going to show you a few quick examples of how you can kind of segment keywords based on the user intent and customer journey. So I covered this in the SaaS guide. Ultimately, you're kind of starting from like problem awareness, solution comparison, decision, and then retention. So in that example, someone could be looking for lead generation strategies, not knowing, they know they have a problem, but they're not sure what they need, where to go from here. Next, you're moving on from there to like best marketing automation tool. So they know they need marketing automation, solution awareness, but they're not sure, again, what that solution is. As they work down, they know, okay, there's Salesforce, there's HubSpot, there's all these other tools. Next is, comparison. So of these tools, which one is the right for me? For example, HubSpot versus Salesforce, building out those comparison pages. Lastly, it's like, okay, I like HubSpot. It has the features I need. What is the price? HubSpot price, HubSpot features, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly, you get to that retention stage. So that user likes your product, they've signed up. How do you keep them engaged and on the platform? And this could apply to different niches as well, especially like in a recurring model, with e-commerce where they could be making multiple purchases throughout the lifetime of that client or customer. SaaS works really well. There's some enterprise that works well here as well. Chapter 2, build up a content calendar. So the steps of that, like in every content calendar, the goal is to have kind of like a high 10,000 foot view of the content you're producing over, it could be 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. And you want to make sure that you're incorporating, what campaign it's for, the topics, the content format, the date, the author who's writing it, the status, etc. And every business is different. You might find that some of these work for you, some don't. In an example that we have or we use in-house, again, this is from an agency perspective, so it's a bit different. But for us, like we have, the date that we put into our calendar, what's the topic approval, has the client approved it, what's the status of the article. We use a bunch of different here, guide outlines, assigned to writer, weighing on approvals, et cetera, et cetera. which team is writing it. Is it our own internal team? Is it a client? For post type, again, this is custom for us. We like to use different post types for different content. For example, on the pest guide, we have, a pest guide post type, we have a reviews post type, and I believe we have a products post type. So making sure that content's going in the right post type. Is it, what kind of content is it? Is it a blog post, service page, information page, additional content, etc.? Is this going to be on a new page or existing page? And lastly, you kind of have the topic, focus keywords. These are relatively new, so I'll kind of move up here. Topics, focus keywords, secondary keywords, etc. that we want to target. Again, everyone has a different process here. For us, this works well for us, and we're going to also be sharing this content strategy, not this client in particular, but a template that you can download and use internally for your business. Chapter 3, creating an editorial guideline. So this is, again, for me, I would say it's the most monotonous, kind of dull, but it does have to be done. You really want to create a distinct brand voice and something that's unique to you. So a few examples that you want to incorporate in this are, what are some of the vital content gaps in the industry? What separates your brand? How does your business change the lives of the audience you're targeting? What are your fundamental brand values? What emotions do you wish to evoke? And what is the goal of this branded content? A voice will really give distinct flavor to your content and allow people, or give people the opportunity to come back or want to come back. It'll also naturally, potentially have higher kind of engagement from that. A really good example with a company that does this well is Red Bull. Everything they do is like extreme sports. It's very edgy, absolutely fantastic. And they do that kind of consistently across their entire business. A fun fact here from Lucid Press, presenting your brand consistently can increase revenue by 33%. So you want to take the following steps, brainstorm with your team and founding members what the overall or overarching purpose is, create a voice chart, and then include a content mission. Here's an example of writing goals from MailChimp: empower, respect, educate, guide, speak truth. So that holds well for a lot of companies, but really just figuring out what you want and what you're trying to get out of that. The next is formulating the text style sheet. Again, more technical, looking at vocabulary, acronyms, subheadings, Oxford commas, different punctuation. Roughly 45% of a brand's image can be attributed to what a brand says and how it says it. So again, really important. It keeps things clean. It keeps things professional. A few things to incorporate in your checklist: spelling, punctuation, content, tone, and voice, word inclusion, formatting, hyperlinking guidelines, and stuff like that. Next is developing a visual content style guide. So if you just had text on a page, even if it had the voice and proper commas and formatting, it's not going to be engaging, and typically you're going to kind of see a very high drop off or a high bounce rate. So incorporating your brand logo, color usage, communication, acceptable images, the right way to add image sources, image source cheat sheet, font preferences, etc. We go a bit further here, and we've actually built out custom widgets for ourselves and our clients. Here's an example of best mosquito repellent, ultimate 2021 guide. So getting ahead of ourselves here, but getting ready for next year. We incorporate, Amazon product widgets. As you scroll down, we have, images. We create these 2-column tables like pros versus cons. And it does a really good job of breaking out that content and making it more readable. Lastly, we have kind of like a pro tip or information box, FAQs, that are formatted, engaging, and really just, again, our goal here is to break out that content as much as possible and not just have, thousands of words on a page. Chapter 4, making a list of content quality parameters. So you want to have this down before you start scaling up. Content quality is going to naturally, over time, rank higher than subpar quality content. So making sure insightful, engaging, actionable, authentic, and goal-oriented. So the first step is making sure you're offering real value. So you want to be educating the target audience. It should be devoid of a hidden agenda or self-promotion. The goal here is to build, informational pages that are kind of building awareness and building your brand. So in 2019, 90% of the most successful B2B content marketers claim to prioritize their audience's informational needs over their own sales promotional message. Number 2, offering practical advice. So creating resources that are easy to understand, step-by-step instructions, things where it's understandable and they know what action to take next. Engagement. So using colorful visuals, charts, inspiring quotes, and then using, trending content formats, live video, IGTV to make content talk of the town. Infuse two-way interaction to entertain the audience. Create benchmarks and goals. So as a content marketer, you can create a tailored content quality program for your brand. Find the best content pieces in your industry. Highlight some of the reasons why these content pieces stand out. One of the best ways to improve content quality is to add goals against each upcoming content piece. Number 4, writing awesome headlines. So I'm not talking about, traditional like clickbait, BuzzFeed type headlines, but building powerful headlines that resonate with your audience. So kind of finding that medium between, like, I call them like SEO friendly headlines and then that kind of clickbaity, and finding something in between that works well for your business. We use a product from CoSchedule called Headline Analyzer. We have a link in our guide. It's fantastic. You put in your current headline and it provides recommendations and feedback. And then lastly, write from your experience. Add real value. So share anecdotes that inspire, tell stories about your business, create thought leadership content. These type of unique perspectives can't be copied and ultimately are what's going to help you really create a community around your content. Chapter 5, infuse the content outlining process. So a content outlay mapped out the details of a content piece. We call them here internally at Search Eye, My SEO Sucks, content guides, but they work really well and they really help kind of build out content that's consistent time after time. So for the actual process, you want to, content link, what's your targeted keywords? And we will get this from looking at current sites that rank for certain keywords. In Market Muse, they'll provide recommendations, ClearScope, Phrase.io. Then moving on to the research, mapping out like those subpoints and key points, and then providing resources. So I'm going to show you an example here of this is the page we were working on, Best Flea Foggers. This is for one of our affiliate sites. So we create this guide, and I'll share this as well. I'll make it downloadable. We have a draft due date, publish date. So the writer has expectations. We have kind of a quick thing on our overall voice. What type of page is it? Is it a hub or spoke? What's the title? What are framing keywords or keywords you want to incorporate throughout the content? Any other requirements, country focus, internal links, and then sources. And then from there, we build out the content guide outline. So we have our H2s, H3s, subpoints, recommendations, internal links. We even go a step further, include like a pro tip for each piece, as well as FAQs. So we just try to create that consistency as much as possible. Chapter 6, supplementing with content curation. So what is content curation and how is it different from creation? So curation is finding excellent content in other places and sharing it with your audience. So a few unique ways of doing that are using that to repurpose. So compiling a newsletter for social media, integrating quotes and interviews into your articles, curating statistics, And then building, a list of resources. You could have a resource section on your site. The other thing it works really well for, we find, is for listicles and other types of pieces. So taking a hybrid approach where you find this content or creator content and integrate it inside of your content creation process. Ultimately, content creation on its own is going to be a lot cheaper. And it's going to drive, maybe not so much from an SEO perspective, but from a shareable perspective, it's going to drive a lot of value there. Kind of showing you an example of one of our Facebook groups that we own. What we do, we repurpose content quite a bit here. For example, we have Q&As, charts, statistics. Here's a Twitter post or Google tweet that we posted. You can see the reach here. Like this was just posted. 1,500 reached pretty quickly. Same with this. Memes. Another example here is a podcast I recently did for growth experts, where we kind of created a video and then shared that across our different social media platforms, as well as on our website. And then that all kind of linked to the main podcast that was about 35 minutes. So you can see how by like repurposing content, I think this, full disclosure, I found this on Reddit somewhere, and then I basically just made my own caption. But you can see how, again, look at some of these are our best posts that we have. This one's closing in on 10,000 reached. Here's an example from Brain Pickings. Bruce Lee on death and what it takes to be an artist of life. From here, they kind of just created a quick. They took the quote, built their own title, and that was the post. But you can go a step further, provide an opinion, and again, it's finding that kind of hybrid or happy medium where you take curated content and combine it with content creation. Chapter 7, embracing content repurposing. So content repurposing, it's about taking a post that you worked on or some piece of content creation and then repurposing it for different mediums. So email marketing, ebooks, videos, checklists, slide shares, a podcast, and even like social media and other things. So the goal here is how can we take one post and repurpose it as many times as possible? I know for our processes, we try to take this post, for example, this ultimate guide to scaling up content. We built, downloadables for a content guide outline template, for a content strategy template. We converted this to an ebook. I'm creating a video on this right now. We're going to repurpose this for social. We're creating a, downloadable ebook for this post. And then we have drip emails. So it's a complex campaign and involves anywhere from 19 to 22 steps for each guide that we do. But once we built that out and we tweaked it, it got somewhat automated. And from there, it's a great way to build out our email marketing lists, get in touch with people, figure out what their pain points are, and using that information to really engage with our audience. And here's a traditional content repurposing workflow. So you want to pick the top performing content pieces. So you want to start with a strong foundation. For us, for all the guides we create on My SEO Sucks, they're all minimum 6,000 words. For many of them, we try to get at least 5 to 6 quotes from other industry professionals. So we're really focused on like building out top performing quality pieces here. Next, we want to define the repurposing formats. So what are those? Are we creating an ebook from this? Is it worth creating a video? What are we using it for? What are the goals? Lastly, publishing that and then promoting it. So if we're building, maybe taking this, for example, content creation guide, maybe we repurpose and build a quick guide on, a content strategy template and then promote that. So there's a lot you can do here to get creative, but the important thing is like mapping out the content and what and where can we use this in addition to the blog or whatever the intended goals were. Chapter 8, develop a schedule for content promotion. Many marketers make the mistake of scaling up content creation only, and that's when they run into trouble. So they're not building out the publishing part of it. They're just building content, hoping it ranks, hoping it gets found in search. And ultimately it's going to fail. I mean, how search works is basically the larger your footprint is for any type of piece, whether that's through backlinks, social sharing, etc., videos, YouTube, etc., it's going to rank much higher. So it's one thing just to scale up, how many pieces of content you're creating, but how is it being distributed? So you want to create a workflow to optimize content for search, be it blog posts, YouTube videos, key phrases, etc. Using internal linking to make it easy for visitors to find content. I think internal linking is often underused and understated. It's very important, and it does a really good job of spreading link juice, helping Google understand kind of hub and spoke models, content clusters, etc. Scheduling content pieces in your social media, and that could, everyone thinks of social media as those traditional, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, YouTube's a part of that. Reddit's a part of that. Quora is a part of that. Even having someone spend, an hour or two looking for relevant Quora posts, providing comments, feedback, and incorporating, your videos, your content into that. Promoting gated content assets, setting up personalized outreach campaigns, pitch guest posts to authority sites in your industry, create a newsletter. There's a lot you can do here. And over time, you can have a lot more success. And it's also going to improve your overall ROI of your content marketing strategy. Chapter 9, hiring writers who are niche experts. There are no shortage of writers. Even at our company, we get anywhere from 15 to 20 proposals a day, locally and abroad. The challenge is, how do you differentiate from, generic writers to subject matter experts? So one is you can use, traditionally how we started was like there's Upwork, Writer Access, and a few others. Ultimately, we just weren't able to get the quality that we wanted. So we worked backwards. We found blog posts we really liked. We reached out to those freelancers, on LinkedIn, email, etc., and wanted to see if they were interested in, working for us in certain kind of topics. And as I mentioned, browsing industry blogs, reaching out to writers, it just works much better. You're going to get much less generic content, and ultimately content that's going to be more likely to be shared. Chapter 10, building up a robust content team. So as you scale up your content creation efforts, you don't need a bunch of good writers. You don't need a bunch of good writers. You need kind of a full team there. It doesn't necessarily need to be a full-time team. That's why we recommend agencies for these type of things, because you might only need, 1 hour of an SEO specialist time, an hour of social media, et cetera, et cetera. But it really depends on the business. But kind of I would say the most basic team you can have, minimum team, if you're producing at least a few pieces of content a month, having an SEO specialist on hand, doing the keyword research, content recommendations, optimization, that social media specialist who's going to promote everything on social, potentially build those brand assets as well. Outreach and media relations expert, someone who's going to take that post, outreach, and try to drive high value links and mentions towards it. An editor, someone who's going to create the, proofread the content pieces, making sure it follows all the style guidelines, quality control, and that every piece adheres to it. A paid campaign expert, someone who's going to potentially create, through AdWords and other mediums to promote that. Performance experts, so taking that and someone's going to look at analytics, content metrics, optimizing it for views, traffic, likes, shares. And lastly, a designer. So someone who's going to give life to that page when it's on there. That's going to naturally help with engagement, potentially building out the social media graphics for the social media team, and all, working together to create like a cohesive, well-performing piece. Chapter 11, using content creation tools. So we have a list here. I won't go through all of them. There's a list that we recommend, or at least a stack. Some of them we use internally, some is not anymore. It really depends on where your business is. If you're producing a few pieces a month, you might not need a full kind of, using Ahrefs or something like that. That could be very costly. But Grammarly, fantastic one. All of our writers use it. Everyone on our team uses it as well for sending out emails to clients, proofreading everything, going through like when we're doing link build. Like throughout the process, we've ingrained Grammarly. to make sure there are no typos. It's such an easy process to implement, and it just drives so much value. Feedly is fantastic. It's the best way of following niche blogs and using it for content ideas and content topics. Pictochart, great way to create shareable content through infographics and things along those lines. The premium version, I think it's about $24 a month, but super valuable. And again, for us, if one graphic is able to generate even 2-3 links in a year, that generates more than what the $24 a month is. Evernote, I use it more for myself personally. Whenever I find something online, I just kind of make a note, put it into there. But it's also a great way to share with other people on your team, and just jot down notes, ideas that come to your head. Could be URLs, web clippings, etc. Trello, absolutely fantastic. We use Trello internally for My SEO Sucks. For our Search Eye platform, we use Asana, Jira, and a few others. But for Trello, I think it's very simple. It works really well. It's really easy to see what everyone's working on, where we're at, without a lot of complexity added to it. So if you're using it just for a content calendar, I think it's fantastic. There's free stock image sites, Unsplash, StockSnap, Pixabay, etc. Canva. We started out using that originally, creating Facebook post templates, social media graphics, infographics, etc. We've moved to Design Pickle. We can just send them kind of a few quick notes. They get back to us with the graphic. It's unique. It works well for us, but every business is different. Idea boards, we don't actually use this anymore, but it was a great way kind of at the start to get feedback and ideas from the team. Miro, with COVID, we've used this quite a bit. Basically, it's a whiteboard for teams. Great way to create flowchart templates, great way to visualize content, as well as sharing during meetings and stuff. There's SEMrush. We use SEMrush. We use a little bit of Moz. We use Ahrefs heavily. It really depends on what you're looking to do. SEMrush has a great topic research tool. But for us, again, we like looking at competitors, seeing what's out there. So we find Ahrefs more powerful, but again, different tools for different people. Google Trends, I'm sure you're familiar with that. Great free tool. See what's trending. Surfer SEO, great way to analyze content and pages. We use a combination of we use Surfer SEO at times. We love ClearScope, Market Muse, Phrase.io, and we use a couple others to really build out our stack of content marketing tools. Chapter 12, measuring content performance. So scaling up content can be a roller coaster ride. There'll be occasions when you feel that things are just going fine. Other times they're gloomy. Ideally, though, it's the same kind of content performance process. You want to define your key metrics, create a tracking system, and then analyze performance. So tracking the right metrics, this is a challenge. Only 44% of B2B marketers are clear on what current content marketing success looks like. The correct way to define content metrics is first understand your content goals. And again, I think the challenge, even working with our clients, there's a misunderstanding between the difference of awareness-based topics and intent-based topics in content. People expect, they're like, why are we writing this guide on SEO? It's not going to necessarily drive any leads. And that may or may not be the goal. So it really depends, figuring out what are your long-term objectives? What are you trying to do? But kind of looking at a few of the basic ones, lead generation, 54% of companies reported generating quality leads to be the biggest challenge with content marketing. So the problem is with lead generation through content marketing, you're driving a lot of awareness or top of the funnel keywords. So you might be getting someone who's maybe an uneducated consumer. They don't know if they need your product. They don't know what your product does, but maybe they signed up for it to check it out. So typically you're going to get lower quality leads there. And the point is you want to work users through that funnel, which will ultimately build up much higher quality leads. So a few things on the lead gen side. that we focus on and look at are form fill ups. That being the number one, like sign up for email marketing list, download this, get this white paper, etc. For us, we use it just to get as many leads through the door. And then we'll build our funnels to kind of nurture those leads. Engagement and interaction. Genuine comments from visitors who are interested in your business. Fantastic. Like we put a discussion now on every one of our guide pages. Content shares on social media. Engagement, I think, is a really good piece in understanding how well your content is performing. Are you guys doing the right things? It might not, necessarily be successful because you're not driving enough traffic, but if people are engaging with it, you are doing something right there. Sales and revenue. Again, to me, I think this is a long-term metric and something that will be very disheartening at the beginning of a campaign. We have sites, in different affiliate niches that were generating 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 visitors a month. But the challenge was they weren't driving leads because we were building out guide pages. They weren't making any money. They weren't clicking on the affiliate links. But what we were able to do through that is because of our guides, we were able to capture people following us, getting updates through Google Chrome notifications, and signing up for email marketing lists, joining our Facebook group. And from there, we were able to leverage sales and revenue. So our Facebook group or email marketing might be disproportionately on a percentage basis, very high in terms of generating revenue, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's effective. The content marketing was driving those leads in the first place. Brand awareness. Again, I can't stress this enough. Businesses that do content marketing right are successful. If you look at HubSpot, Salesforce, they have built incredible content pieces, incredible content marketing engines, and it's driven so much long-term value and sales from that content creation. Ultimately, they've done a good job of repurposing it, building out those downloadables. Now, each of those downloadables has their brand on it, has information in it, call to actions, is promoting their company. Extremely valuable. They do a fantastic job, and you never want to underestimate the importance of brand awareness. Next is you want to set up tracking. Me personally, I use Google Tag Manager for everything, for all tracking, and then I kind of push those goals or tags, triggers into Google Analytics. I think it's a really good start, at a basic, just, tracking time on page, percentage scroll, form fill outs, downloadables, etc. And then you can get more complex over time depending on what your business needs are. Even for social media, you can use something like Hootsuite to track analytics in terms of tweets, followers, engagements, traffic, shares, etc. Chapter 13, creating a content audit workflow. So this is kind of something that happens, for us, we conduct this monthly for clients at kind of like a more technical structured level. And then we audit yearly every piece of content for what's on the page. So the typical workflow is going to be, content inventory creation. And you can use, SEMrush for that. I'll show you what we do. We use a combination of SEMrush and Screaming Frog, and then building a content action plan and then strategy analysis. So SEMrush has a really cool tool where you enter the title or enter the URL. It pulls out all the content. It tags it, when it was last updated, links to it. It just has a lot of information, keywords, rank, traffic, etc. from Google Analytics. It's fantastic. Here's an example of one that we have for a client. Basically, the big thing is we have our settings. So we have a kind of an SOP or a quick structure here with different headers. So, content update, page views, words, backlinks, etc. So every time we run this, whether it's every month, every 3 months, we want to rewrite or remove, for example, content that is older than 720 days, has less than 15 views, greater than 200 words. So typically for something like this, we would probably want to rewrite or improve it and just update it. This is a need to update. So when I say rewrite, I mean, when I say update here, rewrite the piece. maybe keep it up. It is driving at least a few views, but needs to update. Same thing, 720 days or older, greater than 15 views, so it is performing. And then word count over X. You can tweak all these. We tweak these for every client. It's different. For a local campaign, it's going to be much different than an affiliate site that's targeting more of a mainstream keyword. But that's just kind of how our SEO works. And then what happens after that is we'll go through this, and then we'll provide recommendations. So our system will automatically provide recommendations here. And then we'll kind of do a quick QC, and then we'll task it out. So we built a really cool tool here. So it's like, processing. And then you can go move tasked out. So what it does is once it's tasked out, we don't keep on duplicating our efforts each month. Again, every business is different. Example for one of our sites is we take a look at all of our reviews and update them for the next year. And then we'll typically do a review at that point as well of the content. Can we change the products on here? Can we improve anything? Can we add something? Is there anything new? Is there anything topical? And go from there. And chapter 14, final thoughts. So just I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the guide. I hope it's valuable. If you like it, don't like it, just leave a comment. Let me know what you think. But quality content may not be the shortest route to marketing success. There's a lot involved in it. The most successful companies have big teams. They're spending millions of dollars a year. But making sure that you're creating content that resonates with your brand voice will ultimately make an impact on your audience's hearts and minds. I hope that was really helpful, guys. Again, I'll be sharing this on Facebook. Join my digital marketing questions group. I'll be sharing that. Feel free to download the ebook, leave a question. Really appreciate any feedback, and thank you for listening.